Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network. Welcome back to the show. We are joined here once again by our friend, Dr. Maureen Hosier. She's from Los Angeles, California. She specializes in helping couples in many different ways. Clearly, as a clinical psychologist, she does a lot to help people. And would you mind stepping up and maybe introduce yourself? Tell us a little bit about what you do as a clinical psychologist specifically, Maureen.
Yeah, that's interesting. That even helped me have a revelation right now. What I do is learn. I'm continually learning about how to help couples make a relationship work.
Yeah.
And there's a real let me say something first though. I want to say my phone number, which is 310-210-6772. If we happen to get cut off at the end of the show because of time or whatever's going on for whatever reason, you could call me and I will I will speak with you and help direct you to where you need to go. I won't be able to work with people outside of California, but I can certainly help you understand and direct you to some suggestions as to how to get the help you need. So again, 310-210-6772. And my email is my name, Maureen, MAURRREEEN @yahoo.com. Maureen with 3 R's and 3 E's.
Yeah.
At yahoo.com. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I do in learning, which I think we humans don't necessarily do well, and I've had to learn how to do it, is learn from my experiences and learn how to handle things differently when they're not working. And that, to me, remember in the first show, I talked about emotional growth, and I knew I wasn't growing. I didn't even know what the word meant. Mm-hmm. So I can emotionally grow now from my experiences in the present, thinking about what's going on for me. My cue is what's going on for me that I'm emotionally reacting. Because an emotional reaction is a little kid normal level of development. That makes sense.
Yep.
And so I can go, oh, I've just had an argument. I've just been in an argument. And I can go, if I can't interrupt it at the time and say, oh, I'm sorry, my bad, I'm arguing here. Give me a little bit of time and I will come back and listen. And so I would have to have that time to take myself away from the emotional reaction and wonder and connect what's going on for me that I am emotionally reacting. What is it touching for me in the past that I haven't learned how to evolve from yet?
Yeah.
And I'm old. So, I haven't really understood this until now. And I think our field is really beginning to understand the connection between the emotional reaction and our acting out in the present without our awareness. We're just little kids. We're just real kids making statements with our emotional reactions. The problem with that is it doesn't work. It doesn't work to solve things between people. We shout louder. We scream, trying to get into somebody what we want them to stop doing to us.
Mhm.
But that's not the way it's going to go, because when we're yelling at somebody, they are now having their emotional reaction to being yelled at and blamed for what's happening. That's a little kid thing. Little kids do not want to be blamed. And they, and most often in a parent, or often in a parent-child relationship, they are blamed. And the parent just wants the kids to stop doing what they're doing. But the emotional reaction is communicating something to us. It's communicating their feelings about what's going on for them. But we ignore them because we haven't known about this. We're just really learning now that the emotional reaction means has to be addressed in a child, as well as the behavior that a parent wants changed, because the emotional reaction is normal for a child. Okay. And so that has to be taken in by a parent and understood how the kid feels. But parents are busy. Parents are focused somewhere else. Parents are doing what they need to do to survive in the world. And they just, much of the time don't have that kind of time to focus and take care of the emotional feelings at that moment of a child. Like, I understand, honey, why you're feeling this way. Of course you do. And then an explanation, over and over and over and over and over and over again, so that the child feels emotionally understood and held, but can also begin to change their behavior.
Yeah.
So parenting the way they parent comes from the way they were parented. So parents have their own internal little child inside of them. And they have the power. So what's happening between a child and an adult has a lot to do with power and not caring. And so when a kid grows up, then that would make sense that power is a real important issue for all of us. We want to be able, we're left at an emotional position of still wanting power. And so wars, arguments, road rage, any kind of an emotional reaction comes, yes, from the moment and from the past, how the kid has been treated, or the person has been treated in the past. So we're seeing many, many humans who are emotionally still very young. They are still a little kid inside of them, without their awareness, feeling entitled, which is a little kid thing, feeling righteous, which is a little kid thing, which is angry and rageful, maybe, which is a little kid thing. And it's happening then in the present. So it's a real indicator to someone's trauma from the past. And it's a real indicator in the present that this person has a great deal of, or doesn't even know how to contain their emotional reactions. and express what they want to express. They act it out.
Yeah.
So how do you feel when I say all of that?
Well, I have kids. I'm thinking in a, in the world of children and what affects their behavior. And I go back to my own childhood when you're talking about this, because my parents didn't get along growing up at all. It was very vicious. It was a nasty environment, and I have lots of childhood trauma from the stuff that I've seen, witnessed, and how they behaved. And so here's my life, and I'm trying to do everything opposite that for my kids, but I'm still making some of the same mistakes. So you're just talking about the behavior of the children, and it's just, my mind's running, because it's like, yeah, as an adult, you have responsibilities you have to do. I wish I could be a stay-at-home mom and shelter them and give them all the love they need and not have to worry about work, but it's hard. And then I think about my mother, who had to go through the same thing. She at least stayed home with three of us, but she had the abusive husband on the other hand. So what's worse? There's
Yeah.
no, everyone has their own way. And I just feel like, for children out there, parents listening, our relationships mean so much, because that's what they see, that's what they absorb. They pick up on your stress, on your anxieties, on your early, even in the womb, they say, right? I mean, so, and then that trauma we deal with as adults, and you hope it could be cured, it could be healed, it could be saved in a sense, and I'm sure you talk to a lot of people that this comes from childhood trauma, right? Is it possible
Absolutely.
to get over? Is there techniques? Is there ways to let it go?
Well, what we've been doing really so far has been therapy. And therapy can be, I mean, should be extremely helpful. But there's also one thing that I think that people can do in their lives, and their emotional reaction is a clue in the present to how they handle, how things were handled with them in the past. Now, I've said this example before. I believe my sister went to slap her 7-year, not 17, but 7-year-old child. She saw the hand coming through the air and realized in that moment in time, it wasn't her hand, it was my mother's hand. And she put herself in the position, the emotional position of being her daughter, and did not want to handle things that way ever, because she knew her own experiences to having that happen. So she was able, that was the moment that in her life then she was able to, and she did hit her child, and she immediately promised she would never handle things that way again, ever. That she would talk with her daughter. She would understand the emotional reaction that her daughter is having. She's a child. Of course, she's
Mm-hmm.
going to have emotional reactions.
Mm-hmm.
But her child needs help with what the emotional reaction came out of something, out of a frustration or a hurt or a dismissal or a criticism or whatever was going on. And that can be talked about. And from an early age, then, her daughter had this wonderful experience, exquisite experience in being able to be herself, and helped in the moment to understand what was going on for her, that she was yelling and screaming or doing whatever she was doing, flipping my sister the finger or whatever. It doesn't matter. My sister did not have to react to any of that.
Mm-hmm.
And instead find out what was going on. And in that moment, then a kid feels understood, heard, cherished, but also helped to change the behavior the next time. That's all we humans can do, is change behavior the next time. But if we don't have the help to know how to change behavior the next time, then we don't change it. We just stay in that position. We stay the child. And you can see we got a lot of human people here that are children.
Yeah.
And feeling, you can see what's happened to them in their childhood, right, happening in this moment. Their entitlement, their righteousness, their rage, their anger. They
Yeah.
are acting out from everything that's happened to them emotionally. You're not going to find someone acting out like this who's felt the love and understanding and caring that a child needs about themselves, so they get to be themselves. They get to grow up to have somebody help them become themselves with ways to either know things in the present or go to someone and get some help. Mom, I need some help thinking about this. And not be afraid to bring something to mom or dad or whomever to help them figure things out.
Mm-hmm.
So all this can be changed begin to be changed in the present if we humans, if we adults, are really ready to begin to look at our own emotional reactions. What's going on for me that I reacted like that? It isn't about the other. You can say, well, it's about my partner who, just did this to me, but that's then I'm acting out in an emotionally immature way to let my partner know what's going on for me. That's not going to help a relationship at all. What will help the relationship is our discussion and knowing each other's emotional position about whatever happened. That means we don't blame somebody else. It means we talk about ourselves.
Yeah.
What's going on for me? This is what happened for me and why I reacted that way. I understand that's not the best way to handle it. In fact, it's not even a good way. But that communication between two people then in the relationship, you can reconnect emotionally, understand each other's emotional position and thinking.
Yeah.
And go, oh, on both sides. That makes sense. Now we've reconnected the relationship emotionally. We've understood something new about each other, each other's vulnerabilities. And when we care about someone, we respect their vulnerabilities. We don't, reach in and grab them at that point and put them down. We respect their vulnerabilities, and they will emotionally grow too. So yes,
Yeah.
it can be done in the present.
Yeah.
Having a therapist to help with that would be really great. If the therapist is, kind of attuned to that too. And this is really important thinking and learning for us humans at this point in time. We're not doing well here on the planet as a
Yeah.
species. We're just not. We're not caring at all.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not saying everybody on that, but a lot of people, and we just don't know so much either. We just need ourselves to be cared about. When we're that selfish and self-centered and uncaring about others on this, who have their feet on this planet, and even the planet itself, what it needs in order for us to have a home here, we're not going to make it.
Mm-hmm.
in the way that we have up till now. You know, we in an organized civilization. Mad Max, you know, that kind of
Oh, yeah.
stuff.
And
So,
I hate to bring this up. We're almost out of time. I do have another show, but we could go another few minutes. But Mary Hosier, we didn't even establish off the top how we reach out to you. Could you tell us best form and all forms of contact?
well, it's my phone number. And again, I can't work with people outside, but I can help direct. 310-210-6772. I also want to apologize to the person that was at the end of the show last time who we had to cut off, and I didn't have any experience yet in doing that. And I got flustered and didn't handle it well. So I want to be able to handle it better the next time with someone who calls in. So if that person still has a little bit of have some questions, it could call me at that number, 310-210-6772. And my email address is Maureen, my name, 3 R's, 3 E's, MAURRREEEN.
Yeah.
At yahoo.com. Now I have to tell you something real quick about that email address. That's how my mother used to call me. Maureen. And so there it is, right there and in my email address, my past for me right there came out of my mind in my email address.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for another few minutes, Maureen, what else do you want to discuss with us? We can go for another 4 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I am hopeful people call in, and I'm going to try to bring examples next time of people's emotional reactions and what they were intending to do in the moment, and what we had to work on then in therapy as to really what was going on then for them. So I think with understanding the connections, the emotional connections between the present and the past are critical for everybody.
Yeah.
And my mantra is, when I'm emotionally reacting, it doesn't matter what's going on. An emotional reaction can be from the past. It might be from the present, but it seems reasonable. Now, my anger and rage isn't reasonable from the past. So my mantra is, Maureen, what's going on for you? I'm talking to me. What's going on for me that I am emotionally reacting? And then I don't think about it.
Yeah.
And I just wait for my body to give me the answer. And usually the answer comes in a memory or something that it kind of flashes before my eyes. It's an understanding that goes, oh yeah, that's what it is. So I'm using my whole body to give me the information that connects me to the past in this moment in time. And that way I can work on the moment and change it and handle it differently. And I want to be able to handle things differently, the best that I can.
And that's what we all can only hope to do, right?
Right.
And you work with clients only in California, or do you work with them elsewhere?
No, only in California.
Okay. And do you do virtual telehealth as well, or is it all in person? Where are you located
It's
specifically?
telehealth. Yeah, it's always, well, either that or phone.
Do you want to share your contact information again?
It's my email address, and we talked to set that up. So MAURRREEEN at yahoo.com.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for being
Or
here.
call me with the phone number I've given.
All right.
Okay.
Next week. Can't
Thank
wait.
you, Jill.
We'll talk again. Thank you so much. Hope you have a great day. And to everyone else,
You
thank
too,
you so much
Jill.
for joining us. We'll talk soon. Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
Mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house. And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned. This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.